So the new popular talking point on the American left is that conservatives can't define the word woke, even as they continue to be anti-woke. Here's the one thing I'll admit, okay? There are a lot of Republicans who don't know what they mean when they use this word. But that just gives an opportunity to the left to ridicule Republicans, when what we actually need to do as Republicans is to take the debate to their turf and win. So you don't know what woke means? Here's what it means. I'm going to define it in neutral terms that nobody can deny, okay? Being woke refers to waking up to invisible alleged societal injustices based on genetically inherited attributes: race, sex, and sexual orientation. And further, it creates a hierarchy based on these genetic attributes to say that you're either an oppressor or you're a member of an oppressed class, which creates these invisible relationships that creates a social hierarchy. And what they say is we need to turn that social hierarchy upside down, or at least even it out, by using any means necessary, not just through government, but even through the private sector, even through our schools, and even through our economy itself, including the use of quota systems based on race, gender, and sexual orientation to correct for those alleged societal injustices. That is what it means to be woke. That is what the woke movement is all about. Whether you're on the left or the right or the center, you look at what proponents of this movement have said over the last 10 to 15 years, that's exactly it. So now we've defined woke. We've done it. Jen Psaki, MSNBC, you claim it can't be done. You purposefully cut out my repeated definitions of it. I wrote an entire book about this 2 years ago. You conveniently only quote the Republicans, who actually are just a bunch of talking mouthpieces, as opposed to conservatives who actually understand what they're saying. That's convenient for you. Great. Now we've defined it. Now let's have a debate about it. Okay, what's wrong with this woke movement? There's a lot that's wrong with it, but first and most importantly, it creates division in our country. It tells you that if you're an individual, you're just on the tectonic plate of group identity, that you have no agency over your life, whether or not you're a member of an oppressed class or an oppressor group. That's what determines what you can achieve in life, and increasingly what you're even allowed to think. Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley summed it up when she said, we don't want any more black faces that don't want to be a black voice, that we don't want any more brown faces that don't want to be a brown voice. What does that say? It equates the color of your skin, your race, with the content of ideas that you're allowed to have. That is wrong. It is anti-American, and it is fracturing our country to a breaking point. Here's the other thing it does, is it creates a culture of fear that replaces our culture of free speech. Because again, if your race goes from being about your skin color to being about your ideas, then any disagreement with those ideas automatically makes you a racist. And there is no greater damnation in modern America than to be called a racist. So when given the choice between pledging allegiance to this new secular cult of wokeism and being tarred with the scarlet R, everyday Americans start to bend the knee. And that's what's created a new culture of fear in America. But it's not just the fact that it divides us. It's not just the fact that it then silences free speech in our country, creating a new culture of fear instead. It's also the fact that it ruins our culture of merit in America, that says you get ahead in this country not on the color of your skin, but on the content of your character and your contributions. That's what Martin Luther King says. The woke movement says no. We have to use racial and gender-based and sexual orientation-based genetic criteria to equalize for injustices. They're trying to fight fire with fire, what they perceive as the fire of historical injustice. Well, now they're using the exact same methods to fight back against it, through race-based affirmative action, through other quota systems in corporate America or otherwise. That, too, is what's wrong with the woke culture, is that it is an assault on merit itself. And look yourself in the mirror and ask yourself, do you still live in a country where the best person gets the job, regardless of the color of their skin, where the best person or the best student gets into college to pursue an opportunity in higher education? I think most of you know that isn't the case in America today. The fact that you're not allowed to admit it indicts our culture of free speech, but the fact that it's true indicts our one-time culture of merit in this country, which we've lost. But the last part of this is that they don't just use politics to correct for it, because through politics, at least you get to vote for which politician stands for a given policy. No, they've resorted to capitalism and the private sector itself as the way that they want to settle these questions by taking that culture of fear into the American economy and the private sector. And I think that's downright dangerous for future unity in this country. Because you want to know what? Alexis de Tocqueville, he traveled this country. He said that a diverse and divided democracy, it's not supposed to stand for more than a generation unless there are spaces that bind us together across that diversity, across our differences. And you know what does that better than anything else? It's the private sector. It's American capitalism. It's our educational institutions. It's our churches and religious institutions. And what the woke movement does is it says that every one of those institutions has to adopt the same ideology, the same diversity, equity, inclusion agenda. In the name of inclusion, they've actually created a culture of exclusion where those institutions are no longer culturally in the mainstream unless they adopt these woke values. And that, too, will be what divides us to a breaking point. So you want a definition of what it means to be woke? I've given it to you. You want to know what's wrong with being woke? I've given it to you. If you on the left actually want to stand by your principles of being a liberal, then fine, let's have that debate out in the open. I challenge Jen Psaki, who spent 10 minutes yesterday decrying Republicans who didn't even know what they were saying when they were talking about woke. Well, great. Now you have it. You want to have that open debate? I'll practice what I preach. I'm not like other Republicans. I'll come on NBC. I'm willing to talk to anybody if you, the left, are willing to do the same in return. There's your challenge. Let's see if you accept it.